John from OptixEQ, and October the 23rd, race of the day is going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk a little bit about handicapping process. At Optix, we have a process where we go through, we look for, and we search for plots that look good, interpretable plots, and that's why we developed utility scan. And then we don't have a utility yet, but for notes, what we like to do is at least search and look for keywords and comments and grades that might trigger a potential opportunity as a starting point. And then we use that and we handicap our normal way using form cycle and pace projection techniques that we've shown, in other races of days. And then we decide how to, bet and make a wager. And we'll probably have more on that in the future Optix. But today we want to focus in actually on the search technique that we use for notes. And it's really simple. There's nothing to it. You can kind of probably develop your own and so forth, but it's useful. It's kind of powerful, and that's the reason why we've done the things we've done with notes and use keywords and color coding. And the color coding has to do with, again, statistically, which of those keywords are more impactful and which ones are positive and which ones are negative. And so what we do is with the positive ones, we try to find horses with high morning lines who have at least one green keyword and no red grades or keywords in their last race. Or you can look in the last two. Again, this is a technique that we use. You can expand on it, work on it, tweak it, have at it. Negative keywords, we're finding morning line favorites, so horses that are like below 5-2 or 5-2 and below, who had a C, maybe a C plus with one or more red keywords in their last race. So that's really the simple technique. I'm going to show you on a couple of races tomorrow at different tracks. Let me just pull up the grid. And let's start with race 7 at Belmont. Let me clear this out because I already had done it. But the way I do this is to manage this, I kind of look at the last 60 days, if I want to get the horse's last race. So I go 2016, 109, September the 1st, any race after September 1st. It's not quite 60 days, but it's kind of rough. And what it does, it gives me a more manageable list. I'm really kind of looking at the horse's last races. And one that kind of interests me by just kind of looking at this, all I do is then scan. If you're looking for particular projections, you can maybe even filter on them here. You can type in which ones you're looking for. But, this is such a reduced list. I'm just kind of looking for the green and the red. And the green app really pops out to me is Abiding Star, who had a grit in the last race, a win, ran a good speed figure. Look, you could just kind of look at the speed figures, how they compare to other horses in this race over the last 60 days. And, the morning line's 30-1. This horse, they dropped in for 50,000. This is a graded stakes horse. He kind of went off a little form. I think they were too aggressive putting him into the Triple Crown series. But he's got speed, and even if this race gets taken off the turf, I know the weather's been terrible there. This horse is proven on off track, and he has speed. So at least, again, I'm not saying I'm making a bet on this horse based on just finding this information, but it's a starting point, and this is all we're kind of looking for to kind of maybe take the next step and drill down. There's so many races, especially if you're playing contests or you're just looking for opportunities. Unless you have something that can get to, the important ones fast, you don't want to spend a lot of time handicapping a race really that doesn't have an opportunity. You'd rather start where there's greater potential for an opportunity, and this is the technique to kind of do it. Another race I want to look at is Santa Anita. I keep saying I'm wishing for summer again. Santa Anita, race 1, and we're going to look at that race. It's a down-the-hill race, and we got two horses that actually pop out at us, Coeur de Valet and Tourney. Both have green. Both morning lines look pretty good. Again, this race looks interesting. You can just, again, this is not their entire record, but their last 60-day speed figures compare nicely. And so this is two horses that we might want to look further. And this is race 1 at Santa Anita. We might want to analyze that a little bit more. Let's go to Keeneland race 5. And I've kind of already did this. Let's clear this filter out. And let's start again with 2016. This is race 5. And I'm going to show you both kind kind of a negative and a positive one. You all prepped, had a prep in the first race. That's normally, we're thinking the horse is going to improve. They weren't really trying in that race. However, this horse is getting turf as a key word and a stretch. Well, he's going to get a little bit extra distance, but he's not getting turf. So you're going to have to figure out what you want to do with that horse. But again, at 15-1, you might want to, again, it might be interesting. But that wasn't really the one. I want to focus on kind of a negative keyword, and that's number 9, our Storm and Norman, who had a C+ and a no finish in last race, a negative keyword. And this horse is 5-2 and the morning line favorite. So this is a horse we might want to look a little bit more into, and if we just kind of take the filters off and just drill down on number 9, you want to see that race was turf and today's dirt, but this horse had turf form before. This horse ran a B at this level on the turf, so this recent form doesn't look good. Now the connections, I think they're doing well at Keeneland and they're good, but again, this is a horse that gets overbet. Maybe you might want to just, again, look at that race a little bit more closely. So that's really it. I'm going to put up a list of these races and a couple others where I've just found opportunities. Again, we encourage you to kind of do the rest of your handicapping process, but at least this is a start, a list of races that might be interesting. So that's it for us. Probably next week we'll get into a little bit more into scan and identify opportunities using scan, pod scan.